Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, depending on where you are. But here in the United Kingdom, it's World Book Day. So happy World Book Day to every single one of you, and I hope that you read very well. Now, when it comes to reading, I don't care what age the book is intended for. After all, it's perfectly okay if you like to read something that's intended for a kid, or a teenager, or an adult. And honestly, I still love to read Harry Potter every now and again. I still like The Chronicles of Narnia, and I really quite liked The Black Cauldron, which I recently watched. And don't apologise for liking books that are not adult books, because sometimes the books that are for younger readers can be better than those for older readers, as sometimes things that are for older readers just aren't exactly quite as good. Like, for instance, when it comes to quote unquote adult horror, I found that horror that's been for children is a lot more chilling than horror that's for adults, mainly because one has to deal with one form of horror and the other prefers to spice it up just for the adult rating. And honestly, I do think sex has ruined the horror industry, and I do stand by that. After all, horror is supposed to make you wake up at the middle of the night, stupid o'clock in the morning, looking at the stuff in your bedroom, just terrified that that might be secretly Pennywise. And yes, I have had a fair few Pennywise dreams, and two of which happened before I knew that that particular character could do that. But I would say when I watched Goosebumps when I was a kid, the horror in that was far more chilling than something like The Birthing Us, which was just, it was not scary, it was just gross. And on top of that, when it comes to romance, sure, an adult romance is alright to read. However, comparing it to, I think it was called Seasons of the Moon, if you are following me on Goodreads or the Storygraph, you'll know what I'm talking about, which is a werewolf romance, which I quite liked. It was a very good story and knew where I was going. And on top of that, when it comes to, let's say, a vampire romance, Vampire Wish is up your alley. So I just wanted you to know that if there is a book series that you think you're going to like, but if it's for middle grade or young adult or even children's, just read it. And don't be afraid of what people think at all. And in fact, I would say there was a character in the Chronicles of Narnia in their last battle that summed up what adulthood truly is, and that's not giving a hoot what other people think. And it was in fact the Macready that did state that she, well into her late years, still read fairy tales and didn't give a hoot what people thought, which is what adulthood truly is, and not what Susan thought it was, which was doing the adult thing to do because it was the adult thing to do, despite the fact that it exposed that she wasn't psychologically an adult. She was still a kid wanting to be an adult, and for the rest of her life she would want to be 20, even in those later years. And that's one thing that I wanted to say, because some people can stigmatise adults that prefer to read children's books or YA, when sometimes YA stuff can be way more interesting and enjoyable to read, especially for those that don't appreciate the spicy scenes in certain things and do want things that do address adult topics without having to deal with that kind of spice. And I do think when it comes to things like books in general, I think books in general, like movies and TV shows or DVDs and Blu-ray and video, should have an age rating on the spine. Mainly because that would give you a good idea of what it's about, as well as make sure that when you do end up going to a charity shop, you're not accidentally picking up something that's, even though it's dressed in bright colours, may not be suitable for someone who's young. And I do think that that's where they should put the content warning, and not a dedicated page that, let's face it, we all will probably skip. We would all skip that page because we're not interested in the first few pages. Only those that are truly interested in everything about the author will be more interested in that. Also, the date of when it was released. And I would say manga have these age ratings, so why not books? And I do think that even adult books, I do think that all books should have an age rating. So why not adult books? Because there is such a thing as the 15 certificate. There's also 16 if you're a gamer. You've also got 18. So why not do the same thing for books? After all, it would be a very good way of helping kids know that that book isn't exactly for them, and it's a good way of knowing whether or not a teenager, if it's appropriate for a teenager to read a certain book, because the span of YA spans from, I think it's 12 to 16 to 17, and something that may be appropriate for a 16 to 17-year-old may not be appropriate to someone who's 12 to 14, which again is something that I do think needs to happen. And if you agree, you can share if you want. And if you like my content, like it. But still, I wanted to talk to you about books on World Book Day, so there you go. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending this amount of minutes watching it, and have a nice day. Read what you like. Don't be ashamed or apologise for it. And be honest on whether or not you actually like it. And don't like something because the crowd likes it. Don't not like something because the crowd likes it, or the crowd doesn't like it. And God bless all of you.